What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in the Azumarill Cup, running a team that doesn't really do that well against Azumarill, and yet I still gained over 100 elo with this team. I believe I was watching a Dan Ottawa video, his best Fantasy Cup teams, and he did mention running triple counter, but said it would be really bad, so don't run it. So of course, I saw that as a challenge and decided to run it, and I did reasonably well with it too. So with that being said, let's just get straight into the question of the day. Aside from Azumarill, which Pokemon do you least enjoy facing up against in the Fantasy Cup? Let me know in the comment section down below and let me know why. And with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle, we need Haxorus into Como-O, so this is pretty cool to see. They are running Poison Jab, and straight away I was thinking, could this be the Triple Dragon team I showcased just a couple of days ago? Would be really cool if it was. We go for Breaking Swipe, they do actually live that, and they can fire off a Dragon Claw. Unfortunately, we didn't get a debuff with the Breaking Swipe either. The opponent swaps into a shiny Shadow Marwile. We have to stay in, at least initially. I'm not going to make it to an Earthquake before they can go for a Power Punch and take me out, so I throw the Breaking Swipe. Once again, no debuff, but they will throw their Power Up Punch. Now they boost their attack. We have to come in with Lucario, even though we're taking super effective damage there. Obviously, Escavalier would be much worse because those Fire Fangs would be double super effective, but the opponent has got a Magnemite in the back. That is incredible to see. This is definitely the spiciest team that I faced in the Fantasy Cup so far, but unfortunately for them, we're able to take them out with the triple counter team, and I'm able to take that game. But GG's to that opponent there, and back to reality as we see Azumarill in the next battle in the lead. And what I found is basically, if the opponent didn't have Azumarill in the lead, they would pretty much safe swap it in within a couple seconds, so you would know if the opponent was running Azumarill because it would be there within a couple of seconds. But here, I'm able to land an Earthquake and then swap, catch the resisted Ice Beam onto my Escavalier, and this will not be a Hydro Pump, so I will let it go through. It is a Play Rough that does a lot of damage, but we do live it. I'm now going to go for a Drill Run here, throwing off the 2 counters, because if they let this go through, of course, I mitigate the damage from the next bubble, but they do end up shielding. It doesn't really matter. I can come in with either Pokemon. I don't want to reveal my Lucario just yet, so I'm going to come in with my Haxorus, go for a shield, go for the counter farm down. They're probably going to swap out here, and they do. They swap into Steelix, and this, I don't know why I threw here, but we're going to go for the Breaking Swipe, and then I will swap into my Lucario. Once again, no debuff, which is really unfortunate. Honestly, I'm not certain about this just because a lot of people don't run Breaking Swipe anymore, but I'd be interested to know if actually Breaking Swipe has a lower than 50% chance to get the debuff. But here we get the full counter farm down, and the final Pokemon is going to be a Galarian Stunfisk, and this is why I'm running Close Combat, because it nearly one-shots them. We get the counter farm down before they even make it to a Rock Slide, and we come out with a Shadow Ball loaded. So Shadow Ball will be enough damage very easily after the opponent comes back to take out the Azumarill, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see Haxorus into a Skarmory. So not a great lead for us. Probably should just stay in, but I do resist these Steel Wings on both my Pokemon in the back. So I swap into my Lucario. Typically, I used Escavalier as the safe swap. I mean, they're pretty interchangeable. You're going to see that I do actually swap the Charge Moves out later on in these battles. I swap Close Combat for Power Up Punch, and I swap Mega Horn for Acid Spray because I don't think I threw a single Mega Horn in any of these battles. It was completely pointless, but I'm able to flip that matchup. The opponent probably going to come back in with their Skarmory, go for a farm down, but if they do that, I do make it to a Close Combat, so I can at least grab a shield back from the opponent, as I could also be running Blaze Kick, so the opponent probably going to shield in that matchup, and they do. And now we come in with the Haxorus. I don't expect them to full send a Brave Bird, so just going to let this move go through as they go for the Sky Attack. We do barely hang on there. We're now going to swap into our Escavalier, and this is a bit of an issue because the opponent, if they are smart, they're just going to go for the back-to-back overheats. It doesn't matter that they will debuff their attack because it's still double super effective. My only play here is calling a bait, and the opponent is going to full send the overheat. So yeah, unfortunately, come back in with the Haxorus. They're able to Fairy Wind, farm me down, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. But GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see a Tapu Fini in the lead, so we do actually make it to the Earthquake on the Simply Tie with a potential Moonblast. They don't throw straight away. We're full sending the Earthquake here, and we one-shot the Tapu Fini, and the opponent is just going to concede the match instantly, and that was so satisfying. That was actually the first battle I did of the day. But into the next game, we're going to see a Flygon in the lead. So Flygon a little bit tricky here. What I typically do is go for the Breaking Swipe. Obviously, they're going to outpace me to the first Charge Move, but they will typically throw the second Dragon Claw, one counter before I make it to the back-to-back, so we're going to go for the Breaking Swipe. They're technically at the Dragon Claw now, but they typically over-farm, but this opponent doesn't. They throw straight away, so bit of an issue here, but we do finally get a Breaking Swipe debuff. It didn't help me that much because Haxorus nearly went down there, but we can come in with our Escavalier, gonna go for the drill run, throwing just before the opponent makes it to the charge move, actually on a CMP tie, so I'm gonna let this go through as the opponent does full send the overheat there, which is unfortunate, but we can now come in with our Lucario, go for a double resisted counter farm down, get a very nice farm down as well, and let's see what the opponent has in the back. Of course, it's gonna be Azumarill, so we're gonna go for a Shadow Ball here, Shadow Ball coming through, Shadow Ball is gonna do a lot of damage, and the opponent actually shields the first move there, which is quite an interesting play since, of course, we could have gone for a power-up punch, ramped up our attack there, and then unfortunately we both go for a sack swap at the same time. And yeah, unfortunately, we will be losing that game. But GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see Haxorus into another Azumarill. And I do apologize. I tried to add as much variation that I saw in these battles. I actually did 8 sets with this team just to get enough battles where there were enough variety in the teams that I was seeing. But even then, you're still going to see Azumarill in pretty much every single game. But it is what it is. I can't do anything about that. The opponent actually shields the Earthquake this time around. We're going to swap, and then we're not able to catch the move either. So at this point, I think I'm just going to fully sacrifice the Escavalier, but the opponent baits with an Ice Beam, and the fact that they can go for Ice Beam, I don't think you would run Ice Beam and Hydro Pump, so we probably can let the next move go through, but the opponent swaps out. They do bank a lot of energy. They swap into Lucario. We make it to a Drill Run, and Drill Run takes out the Lucario from pretty much full health there. Probably going to come back in with the Azumarill, and that's exactly what they do. So we are going to wait out the switch clock here, and we're going to come in with the Lucario here. Going to go for one shield and then try to go for a full counter farm down. I do believe we've got some energy on our Haxorus, and we will be able to get the full counter farm down. And let's see what the final Pokemon is. It's a Empoleon, so we can just go straight for the close combat, grabbing the shield, and now we can swap into our Haxorus, just go straight for an Earthquake here, and Earthquake will easily be enough damage to one-shot the Empoleon, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see Haxorus into yet another Azumarill. So going to play this out pretty much the same as I always did. If the opponent wants to farm to at least a play rough before throwing, they're typically going to try and throw on good timing, which is then after 7 bubbles. So I can always go for the Earthquake, landing it, and then swapping, and then making that catch onto my Escavalier, because if they farm any more than that, they will go to over 100 energy. So just based on when is good to throw their charge moves, I'm typically able to catch that move, which is really nice. We go for a drill run here. Can't flip this matchup, so I probably just will let this move go through. Let's go for a flamethrower, and now I'm expecting the opponent probably running flamethrower and energy pool. So I might come in with my Haxorus, but instead I'm going to come in with my Lucario, shield once, go for a full counter farm down, and Lucario's energy is absolutely deadly here. So let's see what the opponent wants to do. They're going to come back in with the Azumarill. I'm going to go for a close combat. This is resisted damage. It probably does still take them out from this range though. We grab that shield though. We can get both shields if the opponent wants to double shield. They go for that double shield. We're going to stay in with Lucario, and the opponent is going to swap into Ferrothorn. So I bank a charge move, swap back into my Haxorus there, and now we can go for a Breaking Swipe. And at this point, we should be looking pretty good here. We do actually get the attack drop once again, which is really nice. And now we can just go for a full counter farm down, then go for Flash Cannon, which would have taken us out, but doesn't matter now. I can just safely let this move go through. We have a Shadow Ball loaded on my Lucario, and I'm actually going to go for the close combat just because I wasn't entirely sure that we banked the Shadow Ball, but it doesn't matter as a close combat takes out the Azu, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see a Shadow Flygon in the lead, and I do much prefer Shadow Flygon just because I'm going to have to shield this up anyway, so I might as well do more damage with my counters. And the opponent's going to grab an early shield and then swap into Azumarill, so not ideal for me. Once again, just going to full send the Earthquake here. Literally no point in baiting because that is so risky. We're now going to swap. This time we're not able to catch the move because the opponent wasn't forced to throw their energy straight away. They go for a Hydro Pump that fully one-shots the Escavalier. And yeah, we're in a pretty bad spot right now. I'm going to come in with my Lucario. I'm hoping that I can just counter farm them down. Gonna obviously have to shield once again as they do have enough energy for another Hydro Pump. And they full send the Hydro Pump. They then swap into Escavalier, and I do something that's kind of smart, but it doesn't really help me that much. I wait one turn just to take the damage from the counters so that when I debuff my defense, I still live that counter damage, get off a second close combat, but they still had 2 shields remaining, so it doesn't matter in this scenario as they're still able to take me out with a drill run and take that game. But GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see Haxorus in the lead, so the opponent probably going to try and swap and catch a move here, and what a surprise, it's a Azumarill coming in. So once again, just going to go for the Earthquake. Once again, I do apologize for the boring teams that my opponents are running, or at least not the entire teams, but just running Azumarill on every single team. It probably is not that enjoyable to watch, but I don't know what else to do. I don't have the Pokemon built to play in the Open Master League, so this is the best I've got. We're going to catch a Play Rough there, or not catch a Play Rough, but we basically force the opponent to throw a resisted Play Rough because pretty clear that they're not running Hydro Pump. We're going to go for a Drill Run there, taking out the Azu, and the opponent's going to throw their energy straight away. So fine with me, going to let it go through as they go for a Night Slash there. Now I expect the opponent to swap out instantly, so I'm actually going to come in with my Lucario, and it's a Skarmory in the back, and this is actually really important that I came in with my Lucario, because now we can resist the Steel Wing damage. Obviously, a Power Up Punch Lucario would be better here just because the counter damage alone has got them incredibly low, but we can make it to the back-to-back close combats. All we have to do is force the opponent to throw their energy, and the longer they stay in this matchup before throwing their energy, the worse it gets for them, so they're going to throw pretty much straight away. They go for the Sky Attack. We're going to overfarm here, throwing at the last possible second here, just because even if the opponent makes a catch, it doesn't matter. We've got back-to-back charge moves, and a second Breaking Swipe will be enough damage to very easily dispatch this Haxorus, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see Haxorus into Lucario, so this is a slightly positive matchup for us, and the opponent's going to swap straight away into Slurpuff now. I do not have a response to Slurpuff whatsoever. It's not so bad when I'm ahead on energy with either of my Pokemon in the back, but yeah, Flamethrower easily going to be one-shotting Escavalier. All we can do really is force the opponent to double shield in this matchup. They're still going to win this, so it's certainly not ideal, but it's the best we can manage. So I'm going to double shield here as they go for a Flamethrower. I'm going to try to throw it as late as possible. Going to go for the Drill Run here, and it looks like a CMP tie as well, which is pretty much the best case scenario for me as the opponent throws their energy straight away. The opponent goes for the Flamethrower there, taking out the Escavalier. And now I'm actually going to come in with my Haxorus because I'm expecting, since it was a safe swap Slurpuff, they're probably running Flamethrower and Energy Ball, so I should be able to resist anything they throw here, and the opponent is going to go for a Play Rough, one-shotting my Haxorus, and unfortunately that's going to be game over. I do get the full counter farm down up against Lucario, but it doesn't matter. I do actually throw here just because I wanted to see what their final Pokemon was, just in case we do face this team once again. It ends up being Azumarill anyways, of course it is. We hadn't seen Azumarill yet in that battle, so of course it was in the back there. But GG's to that opponent. Into the next game, we see Turtonator in the lead, so pretty good to see it here. Obviously two Pokemon in the back that are very weak to fire, but of course they're just going to swap into their Azumarill. And once again, it's not looking too good for us. We go for the Earthquake, once again, going to try and make a catch onto my Escavalier. But the opponent does hold on to the energy. We're going to let it go through as the opponent forces a Hydro Pump once again. And yeah, a lot of repetitiveness in these battles, even when there is a slightly different lead. It's just how it is, unfortunately. We're going to come in with Lucario, going to go for the full counter farm down, and I do expect the opponent to throw, and I should be able to make it to the full counter farm down before they do get to another charge move. So they actually swap back into their Turtonator. We go for close combat, grabbing a shield from the opponent, but they can very easily Incinerate, farm me all the way down. We have the Breaking Swipe loaded. I didn't realize this at the time, but they were at 100 energy. I thought that they were at 80, so I'm going to shield this up, and then I will go for the overfarm, but unfortunately, they're going to be able to outpace me to the next charge move, and of course, a Dragon Pulse will be enough damage to take out the Haxorus, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. But GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see Carbink in the lead, so I was actually not sure what to do. Of course, Lucario has a really good matchup there just because we do double resist the Rock Throws and the Rock Slides, whereas Escavalier takes neutral damage being part Bug. I'm going to go for a Drill Run here. I don't expect them to use the shield because Carbink can pretty easily live that, and they will go for the full Rock Throw farm down, but they didn't swap out, which is pretty good for me. Makes me think that Lucario might be pretty good against their backline, and the opponent's still staying in with the Carbink, so I'm actually going to go for a Power Up Punch, and do note we are running Power Up Punch now. We take out the Carbink, and the opponent comes in with a Slurpuff, and now you're going to see I was missing out without running Power Up Punch Lucario because this thing is absolutely devastating. Once it starts to ramp up its attack, we just grabbed a shield there with a Power Up Punch, boosting our attack once again, and here, there's no point in throwing my charge move. Instead, I'm going to commit my final shield and go for a full counter farm down. We will come out of this matchup with 100 energy, and let's see what the final Pokemon is. It's going to be a Whimsicott, so it doesn't matter that this team was a triple fairy team. We go for the Shadow Ball, grabbing the final shield, and we make it to yet another Shadow Ball, and this Shadow Ball, we are like triple boosted, easily one-shots the Whimsicott, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see Registeel in the lead, so pretty good lead for us, but of course, with the Registeel in the lead, they're going to be safe swapping into their Azumarill, but honestly, we don't need switch advantage here, so I'm not too fussed about it, unless they've got Turtonator in the back, which would be a little bit tricky, but otherwise, we should be looking pretty good. All we have to do is land the Earthquake, and now I am feeling pretty good about this matchup. Once again, going to try and make a catch. This time, I am able to catch onto my Escavalier. We catch a resisted Ice Beam, which is really good, and now I'm going to throw as late as possible here, throwing just before they make it to the potential Play Rough or Hydro Pump. Drill Run takes out the Azu, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. They are actually running Turtonator, which is not ideal for me, especially since I am down a shield, but Haxorus does have a little bit of residual energy, actually quite a lot of residual energy, so we're going to go for a Breaking Swipe straight away. Breaking Swipe, grabs the shield, we're going to go for another Breaking Swipe before the opponent can make it to a charge move, which is huge for me, and we grab the final shield from the opponent. Now the opponent does overfarm by one Incinerate. I think I have to shield this up. Lucario going to take too much damage from the Incinerate, so we go for another Breaking Swipe. This will finally get rid of the Turtonator, and I should have just about enough health remaining on my Haxorus where I can make it to a Breaking Swipe, but I swap instantly into my Lucario instead. Just get off the Power Punch as soon as possible, get off one boosted counter, and that should put them into range where with a few more counters we can take them out with just a resisted Breaking Swipe, and Breaking Swipe coming through takes out the Registeel, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see Haxorus into a Magnezone, so pretty good lead matchup for us, but of course it's going to be a Azumarill safe swap, and once again have to just stay in with my Haxorus. The opponent does throw an alignment there, which is kind of confusing since that shouldn't have been alignment, but I'm not going to complain. We're going to go for an Earthquake here, and Earthquake hopefully does connect once again, and it does connect, so once again going to try and go for the catch onto my Escavalier. And we do make that catch, so this is just going to be another Ice Beam. It is resisted damage, and honestly, once again, it doesn't really matter if we get switch advantage or not, because we've got two counter users in the back. I'm actually going to let the move go through here, and the opponent swaps back into their Magnezone. I'm just going for the Drill Run, no point in baiting. Drill Run does connect, it one-shots them, but they've got a Galarian Weezing in the back, and this is looking really scary. Could have gone for an Acid Spray there, as they were very likely to shield, but it doesn't really matter. We get that final shield. We have to land a Shadow Ball anyways, because there's no way Lucario can counter and Power Punch its way through a Weezing. We're going to let this move go through. Sludge actually does a lot more damage than I thought it was going to do. I don't know why I thought it wasn't going to do that much damage. This is a Haxorus we're talking about, and now I have to call a bait here, as the opponent does go for a Sludge. I have no idea why they go for Sludge there, but that is fine with me. I'm going to let the next move go through. It's another Sludge. Opponent, what are you doing? Just farm up to the Overheat. We can go for a Shadow Ball here, and I'm fully expecting the opponent to try and catch the next Shadow Ball. They do make it to another charge move already, and at this point Sludge will get me very low. We are going to not throw straight away. We hold on to the energy, and that is perfect as the opponent tries the catch. They're not able to do it, and we're able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see Dedenne in the lead. So this is a little bit awkward just because, of course, we are both resisting each other's fast moves, also resisting the cheaper energy charge moves, but an Earthquake and a Play Rough will definitely be one-shotting. So I'm going to shield this up. The opponent full sends the Play Rough. That is good for me, but then they make a really nice catch, catching the resisted Earthquake onto a Whimsicott, so really nice play. I'm going to bank a little bit of energy here, swap into my Escavalier, and the opponent's going to fire off a charge move. Now, Moonblast is resisted. It still does huge damage to the Escavalier, which is certainly not ideal. And at this point, I should live any grass charge move that they throw, but honestly, it's going to do more damage than I was expecting it to do. Going to have to go for the Acid Spray here. And Acid Spray will be taking out the Whimsicott, but they can just come back in with their Dedenne and get a little bit more energy, which is not ideal for me, but we did bank a ton of energy on the Haxorus, so we're going to wait out the switch clock here, once again go straight for an Earthquake. I'm not sure if the opponent knows I've got an Earthquake loaded, so I just fire it off as soon as I get there, but the opponent does use their shield, and I can't afford to shield in this matchup, so the opponent goes for a Play Rough, taking out the Haxorus. We come in with Lucario, but I'm basically forced to shield here because Discharge still going to do a ton of damage to Lucario. and the opponent's got a Azumarill in the back. So my only win condition here is going for a bait with a Power Punch, the opponent shielding it and then somehow making it to a Shadow Ball, but they can just safely shield this up now as they no-shielded the Power Punch, and yeah, there's not a lot we can do. The opponent can full send a Hydro Pump if they want to, and the opponent will be going for the Hydro Pump, easily taking out Lucario, and unfortunately we're not able to take that game, but GG's to that opponent there. Into next game, we see Escavalier in the lead, so I'm going to farm up to 7 counters. The opponent actually throws after 6, so this is going to be an Aerial Ace. I'm not going to lie, I completely forgot it runs Aerial Ace, but it doesn't really matter. If they got Turtonator in the back, it's already game over, so it doesn't really matter if I shield that or not. I'm just preserving my shields for my backline. The opponent swaps into their Flygon. I'm going to call a bait here, and the opponent does just go for a Dragon Claw, but a second Dragon Claw will get us very low. I'm going to go for Drill Run just before they make it to the second Dragon Claw, and it barely doesn't take them out, which is really bad, as the opponent will now get off a second Dragon Claw. And the opponent then comes in with a Garchomp, so I'm going to bank the energy there. I'm not sure if I would have made it to the charge move, so I play it safe. We come in with Lucario, going to shield up the Sand Tomb, and now we can just go straight Power Punch. Going to boost my attack as soon as I possibly can. Power Punch grabs a shield from the opponent. We should just be able to fully counter, farm them all the way down, and then counter farm down the Escavalier, simultaneously KOing, but I still had my own Escavalier in the back, and I'm able to take that game. But a very cool team, a very cool backline from the opponent there. So GG's, and into the next battle we see a Flygon in the lead. So once again, I'm going to fire off a charge move just before they make it to the next move, but the opponent tries to swap and catch the move there onto their Slurpuff. We're going to go for an Earthquake. Earthquake coming through. Earthquake is going to grab a shield from the opponent. I'm going to stay in here. I'm actually going to throw on CMP. Not great for me because it's obviously not another Earthquake, but the opponent uses their shield, and once again we don't get that Breaking Swipe debuff. Probably doesn't matter too much, but they have shown that they're running Energy Ball, so probably Energy Ball and Flamethrower. We're going to come in with the Escavalier here, and a Flamethrower will certainly take us out. So I might shield this up. I am going to shield, and they actually bait with an Energy Ball, which is so risky. But then the opponent makes a really nice catch onto their Skarmory, catching a Drill Run here. Drill Run is going to be resisted, of course, by the flying typing. We can come in with Lucario, make it to a Shadow Ball on the CMP tie, and Shadow Ball will be enough damage from this range to take out the Skarmory, but the opponent does have some energy on their Slurpuff, so we've got to be very careful here. And the opponent's going to come back in with the Slurpuff. I'm going to have to let this move go through, and the opponent is going to be going for the Flamethrower. So really risky bait, but it worked out well for the opponent as they went for the Energy Ball, and here I had to overfarm, but unfortunately the opponent is already at another Flamethrower, so they're able to take out the Escavalier, and unfortunately we do lose that game, but GG's to that opponent there. Into next battle, we see Galarian Weezing in the lead, so this is not ideal for me whatsoever, but they're probably not running Play Rough. I mean, I said that in my previous video with the Combo O, and then I got hit by a Play Rough, but here we can tank that move, go for an Earthquake. I'm hoping the opponent just lets this go through, and they do let it go through, and now the opponent is going to come in with a Azumarill, of course they are. We are going to let the Haxorus go down, no point swapping out there and switch locking myself. We're just going to let this move go through as well, as the opponent goes straight for an Ice Beam here, which is fine. I can live that reasonably comfortably, although a second Ice Beam probably takes us out after a few more bubbles, so not ideal for me. We go for an Acid Spray here. I do want to get off a charge move since they are debuffed in their defense, so going to use my shield here. Ice Beam probably would have taken us out from that range. It would have been close, but let's see. We're now going to go for a Drill Run. The opponent uses their shield, and they are going to swap into Galarian Stunfisk, so I'm going to bank the energy there, banking a Drill Run, coming in with my Lucario. The opponent probably going to bait with a Rock Slide. They do bait with the Rock Slide, but it doesn't matter. We can farm to the back-to-back Power Punches, and from this range, Power Punch should be enough to take them out. They use their final shield, CMP tie with the Earthquake there, which we do win. Power Punch takes them out. We're now double boosted, and the opponent should be throwing as soon as possible, but they hold onto the energy for whatever reason, and that just guarantees that they are now in Drill Run range for my Escavalier. So we fire off the Drill Run, taking out the Azumarill, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, see Haxorus into a Lowland Sandslash. So a pretty good lead matchup for my entire team actually. The opponent safe swaps into a Tapu Fini, and what I should have really known is that if the opponent's running Tapu Fini, they're probably also running Azumarill, because Azumarill is on every team, and if they're safe swapping into Tapu Fini, it's probably an ABB style team. So here we grab the shield, we're going to let the Surf go through, swap into my Escavalier, and we can tank another Surf. They will get to another charge move pretty quickly, so I think I can just go for the Draw Run straight away. I have to throw straight away there, as it looks like a CMP tie. We go for the Draw Run, taking out the Tapu Fini, and the opponent's going to come back in with their Sand Slash. So I'm going to come in with my Lucario. Hopefully I can swap out in time, but we were quite slow to swap out there. So unfortunately, switch clock isn't quite up yet. So I'm going to shield this up as the opponent goes for an Ice Punch. And now they swap into their Azumarill. Of course, there's an Azumarill in the back. Last time we baited and they did call that a bait. And unfortunately, this time we go for the Shadow Ball. And here I play kind of interestingly. The opponent going to go for a Ice Beam straight away, and I thought they might try and over farm here. So I'm actually going to go for extra counters. Not going to try and swap as soon as they reach the Ice Beam, but the opponent does just throw straight away there. So sometimes you can like try and overthink it. If I just swapped at the exact time they reached an Ice Beam, could have possibly won that game, although Lucario was very low there, so I actually don't know if I would have been able to take it there. But GG's to that opponent. Into the next game, we're going to see the opponent swapping into Galarian Weezing, and this is really bad for me, but my only hope is that the opponent doesn't throw an overheat straight away, and they do just bait with a Sludge. So I'm now going to farm to the potential CMP tie with the next overheat, and Drill Run should be grabbing a shield here. It does grab the shield. They might double bait me here. I'm going to shield anyways, and the opponent does double bait. They go for a second Sludge. Really nice play there after obviously baiting and having it called the first time around. But now we go for the Drill Run, grabbing a shield from the opponent, the final shield as well. At this point, I'm just saying, you know what, overheat me if you want to, and they will. But now we can come in with either Pokemon here. I'm actually going to come back in with my Haxorus since they are debuffed in their attack, and this should just be a debuffed Sludge as well. So what I'm going to do is let the first one go through, and then I'm going to try and swap and catch the next one onto my Lucario. This is double debuffed, and of course it is going to be double resisted, so that does very little damage. They now come in with Azumarill, and what I should be doing is going for Power Up Punch straight away. What I didn't realize is that Lucario, when we do boost, Shadow Ball obviously going to do a lot more damage. One Power Up Punch and then going for Shadow Ball is enough damage with the counters to take out an Azumarill. As you can see, Shadow Ball, even without a buff to my attack, gets them into the red health with the counter damage. So obviously, if we boosted our attack, we could have taken them out there. But the opponent comes back in with the Shadow Magnezone. We can overfarm as much as possible, farming to nearly 100 energy, going for the Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe takes out the Magnezone, and we do just barely make it to an Earthquake up against Galarian Weezing, and Earthquake takes out the Weezing, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.